Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I can also congratulate the member for Harwich and North Essex on getting this debate, and also for the continued support he has given us in our opposition to the Northern Ireland Protocol and the effects it has had on Northern Ireland. The Protocol, if it continues to exist, is a threat to Brexit. And indeed, that was borne out by the survey which was carried out last weekend by Savanta, where 57% of those who were surveyed indicated that they believed that the Northern Ireland Protocol was designed to frustrate Brexit. And indeed, 40% of Remainers made the same point. It represents a bridgehead which the EU still has on the United Kingdom, a salient from which it will continue to attack our sovereignty and try and claw back what it lost when this country decided, the influence which it lost when this country decided to leave the EU. And I believe there are three reasons why the Protocol must go. And the first is that it will be an ongoing means by which Brexit will be frustrated. We have already seen how the EU has used the Protocol. In fact, it's taking the UK government to court because the UK government will not accept the EU's interpretation of the Protocol and how it should be implemented, and impose the kind of restrictions which the EU demands. The British government argue that the Protocol was only meant to deal with those goods which go into or are in threat of going into the EU through the Irish Republic. And any other goods were not at risk. The EU take the view you've got to prove that a good is not at risk before you can avoid the checks. In other words, 97% of goods which are currently being checked don't need to be checked. They don't go any further than Northern Ireland. And yet the EU are insisting, but there's a risk that they might go in the Irish Republic. And therefore, and that's one of the reasons why we've got the high level of checks. There will be future laws which will give even more need for restrictions. The EU are bringing in changes in the law regarding the testing of lawnmowers. Lawnmowers could be the next goods which are refused entry into Northern Ireland because they do not comply with EU law, which will now apply to Northern Ireland. So that's the first reason. If we don't do this, we don't get rid of the Protocol, then there is always that opportunity for friction between relations between the UK and the EU. The second one is that it does attack, and I don't care what those who have spoken and said it has no constitutional impact. Of course it has constitutional impact. The Act of Union has been changed. The government's own lawyers in the courts argued that the Act of Union was changed. That when this House voted for the Protocol, it voted impliedly to change one of the fundamental pillars of the Act of Union, i.e. that there should be unimpeded and equal trade between the countries of the different countries of this nation. And of course, the other constitutional impact it has had is that it has taken powers from the Northern Ireland Assembly. I find it amazing that those who have got representatives in the Northern Ireland Assembly, such as the member for North Down, can argue that there's nothing to worry about. He has got a minister in the Northern Ireland Assembly, his party. They've got members in the Northern Ireland Assembly. And yet 60% of the laws which will govern manufacturing in Northern Ireland will never be discussed, can't be discussed, indeed have to be implemented by the Northern Ireland Assembly without any say. So the democratic responsibilities of the Northern Ireland Assembly have been undermined. And of course there has been a change in the Act of Union, there has been a change in the constitutional position, and that contravenes the Good Friday Agreement, which says that any change in the constitutional position of Northern Ireland has to have the consent of the people of Northern Ireland. The last reason is, and people have outlined it very well, the economic impact which this is having on Northern Ireland. We already see the disruption it has to trade. Indeed, the Ulster Bank PMI survey just this month has indicated that inflation in Northern Ireland is significantly higher than inflation in the rest of the United Kingdom. and thanks, it's about 50% in the lowest region of the rest of the United Kingdom. And while it doesn't lay it completely at the door of the protocol, nevertheless it indicates that costs are rising higher in Northern Ireland because of the costs of the protocol. The delay in supply chains, the additional costs in administration, and etc. So it does have a real impact on the future ability of Northern Ireland to compete. And of course, as laws in Northern Ireland change because EU laws are imposed, then it will make it much more difficult for us to compete in other in our biggest market in GB. There have been those who have said we'll get the best of both worlds because you have a foot in the EU camp and a foot in the GB camp. That's not true, of course. And indeed, I haven't heard any examples. I haven't heard. I'll give way. Yeah.
Thank the honourable member for giving way. This issue of a foot in both camps. The Ulster Farmers Union at today's Northern Ireland Affairs Select Committee made the point to the Select Committee that we actually have a situation where Northern Ireland agriculture is now in a no man's land and doesn't have the best of both worlds. And I'm wondering how he responds to the fact that our multi-billion-pound, most successful industry is now placed in that terrible situation.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard this argument time and time again, we're in the best of both worlds. I haven't actually heard any examples of where being in the EU single market and being cut off from the GB market has had any beneficial effect. Indeed, any examples I've heard of where there's been improved trade have been a result of the trade agreement which the whole of the United Kingdom has with the EU. That's all that has ensured that those markets are open to companies in Northern Ireland. And finally, I would like to say, Madam Deputy Speaker, that there are alternatives to this. We have heard the alternatives mentioned today, the mutual enforcement of each other's rules. It's not that it's technically impossible, it's technically possible. It's not that it's economically impossible, it is possible. It's not that it's constitutionally impossible, it's simply a question of is there a political will. And I think that Lord Frost must push this with the EU, that there are alternatives and those alternatives can satisfy both sides, ensure the single market of the UK is maintained whilst the single market of the EU is protected.